I remember waking up in some of my darkest days, and it was this practice alone that just lifted the darkness and gave me so much clarity immediately.
Can't be contained.
That's what I'm talking about. Hello, friends, and welcome back to the Can't Be Contained podcast. If you are new to this channel, what is up? I'm so grateful that you are here. This show is all about how we can live the most liberated, free lives by breaking down all of the stories, all of the illusions, all of the barriers that stop us from truly tapping in to the deepest essence of our soul, of our heart, that connection that we are all craving on such a deep level. This show is all about sharing stories of some of my favorite people in the world and some incredible high achievers who've really done just that, live lives that are not contained by what we think we need to do, the boxes that society has built around us, but totally breaking free of those boxes and living life on our own terms. I'm so grateful that you are here. This episode, I'm pretty stoked on this episode, mainly because the practice of journaling has many different forms. And what I'm going to do today is I'm actually going to share with you 8 different types of journaling that you can begin to incorporate into your life, depending on what season you're in, depending on what calls to you. It can be a day-by-day thing where you switch it up, or it can be a season thing where you're like, hey, this season of my life, this particular journaling practice feels so good, and just go with that. And I chose these 8 because each of them have brought me so much value at different phases of my life. And I'll kind of tell the story of each ritual, each practice, and how it served me. So let's go. So the first one, I'm going to give credit to Julia Cameron from The Artist's Way, and it's called Morning Pages. And I remember it being 2017, and it was at a time in my life where I was in a relationship that felt out of alignment. I was in a business where the business was great. It was profitable. It was amazing. You guys have probably heard the story of Hungry for Happiness, but I was out of alignment with it. And I just remember reading The Artist's Way. And I love that book for many reasons, but the Morning Pages was a particular ritual and practice that brought up so much for me. And essentially, it's super simple. What it is every single morning you are writing, journaling for 3 pages. That's it. Just 3 pages. And it doesn't matter what you write. The whole idea is just trying to get all of the junk out of your brain, out of your body, out of your head. I don't know about you, but sometimes I can wake up and there's anxiety right away in my system. And I'm like, oh, okay. And a lot of times it's from the dreams that I'm dreaming that are kicking up anxiety. And so waking up, hydrating my body, drinking a ton of water, and just doing a little breath work and starting the Morning Pages practice right away has been so useful, and was particularly incredibly useful during that time where I just felt completely out of alignment. I could really tell the difference as it was on the page, the difference between what is my intuition, what is my truth, what is fear, what are these crazy doubts, and I could really see it for what it is. Sometimes when it's all in our head, it's so consuming, and I'm like, I don't know what's real. I don't know what's happening. So Morning Pages is an amazing practice. The second one is inner child journaling. Now, we all have, one of my mentors, Raina, says, we don't have an inner child, we have an entire preschool down there. And I believe that so deeply in my body. And one of the things that I love doing whenever I feel an activation, and I know that it's an inner child part, it's not my truth, it's not my evolved woman, it's not the powerful version of me, it's this small part of me that's trying to get her need met. Whenever I am in that place, I journal from that version of me. So if there's a part of me that's like, oh, I'm so afraid, I'll let my inner child speak to my evolved woman, and I'll write it back, right? As if it's like we're exchanging love letters, essentially. So the inner child will say like, I'm so concerned. I'm so worried. I feel so much fear. I don't know if this is going to work out. I'm really scared. And then I'll step in with my evolved woman and go, hey, babe, I got you. Everything's going to be fine. You're doing amazing. You are amazing. And I got this. Just relax. Everything's going to be okay. And I just take a moment and I separate my inner child from my evolved woman in my journaling practice. And it just creates so much levity, so much ease. I'm like, oh, God, okay. Man, that feels so good. So that's an inner child journaling exercise. Number 3, this is unlocking your infinite wisdom through journaling. So this is a different practice. The inner child one is communing with the inner child. This is all about extracting your inner wisdom, right? So really feeling into that highest, most authentic, most aligned version of you and journaling as that person as you're speaking to who you are today, right? So really tapping in, I call it the central channel, which is in through the top of the head, rooting all the way down, like really making sure that you're aligned and you're in your body and your heart is open and you're connecting to that infinite wisdom, intelligence. It's almost like you're channeling your soul, your higher self. And that part of you is essentially speaking. And then you're just writing. And this practice is so fucking trippy because what tends to happen is your human mind just kind of gets out of the way. And then this soulful, deep part of you, which is like my hand is just like writing. And I'm like, what, like, I almost feel a little possessed in a good way because I'm just like, whoa, there's so much information that's going on. And so that is all about getting your human out of the way, getting your inner child out of the way, coming back into your alignment, coming back into your heart, and letting that part of you just speak through your words, through your energy, through everything that's going down on the page. You're just going to like amaze yourself. It's so good. All right. So the 4th one is time traveling journaling. That's kind of funny to say. Time traveling journaling. This is essentially going back to your past and really connecting with an old part of you that was afraid, that was scared, that didn't think the thing was going to work out, that was afraid that she or he wouldn't find the mate or the whatever, right? Like think back to your past. And I remember thinking to myself, it was a few months before I moved to San Diego. And I just remember sitting at the dinner table with my father, my brother, my stepmom. And I just remember my dad, my brother were like, I don't think you're making a good decision. And then they started talking about cars. Like, what about your car? Like, what are you going to do? Like they started throwing all these objections at me out of a place of love, obviously. But I just remember being like in that moment, dang, maybe I shouldn't do this. Maybe I shouldn't follow my dream. And it was like a scary moment for me. It was like God, am I making the wrong decision? And the journaling practice is going back to those parts of you and just going, look at how this worked out. You moved to San Diego. You found an incredible friendship group that you're still friends with, and they're basically family. You have this incredible, you met your husband, your soon-to-be husband. You met your podcast producer, John, who's epic. You met like all of these amazing, dope people. Like, look at your life. And like that version of me had no idea this was all coming. Now, why I love this one is because it's the same thing for this time period right now in my life, right? Where as I'm filming this podcast and as I'm sharing this, I was actually talking to my mastermind members about this yesterday in class. I was like, you guys, guess what? This is actually one of the hardest seasons of my career. And I was just like super honest. I'm like, we are going through growing pains with pause, like things are growing and they're expanding and it's requiring me to be a different type of CEO, a different type of leader. Things are moving and shifting and it's expanding and it's so freaking exciting. And oh my God, oh my God, it's a lot. And so this practice allows me to, when I think about going back to my previous self and showing her how everything worked out, it makes me realize that a future version of myself is going to look at this time and go, look how amazing this all worked out. It worked out even better than you could possibly imagine. And I'm so proud of you for just sticking through it and just moving through all of the crunchy pieces and constantly being committed to growth and evolution. And like, that feels awesome. All right, number 5 is the diary of dreams. Now, this is super great because it allows us to have 2 lives. We have our living life and then we have our sleeping life. And if we're intentional about our sleeping life, then we can actually begin to create the type of dream that we desire, right? This is also called lucid dreaming. Now, what I love doing at night is giving my dreams something to solve that my conscious, ordinary, everyday mind is having a hard time solving. So I remember when I was building Pause in the earlier stages, this was about 2018, and I was having a lot of intense challenges with the app and the coding of the app and partnerships. And it was just like a lot of messiness and a lot of confusion and a lot of just like, what do I do? It just felt like a lot to handle. And you know, when you get in those moments where the more you think about it, the more confusing it gets, it was like one of those situations. And so I would, before I went to bed, I would write in my journal, please help me solve this puzzle. Please help me solve this. I don't know what to do. It feels scary. I'm not sure. Help me find the answer. And by setting that intention in the evening, I would wake up and in the morning I had all of this clarity, which I then journaled in the morning. And it was as if my dreams unlocked the answer that I could then record in the morning. And that's something that I still integrate into my life now is, again, when I'm like, wow, I don't know how I'm going to solve this one. I don't see the light at the end of the tunnel for this one. What should we do? Give it to the dream. Your subconscious mind has so much intelligence. And when we stop thinking about things and we take the pressure off, that's where the answers and the goodness and the joy just really emerges. All right, number 6. So one of the things that I decided, this was 2020 when COVID was going down and the internet was the craziest place ever. And there was just a lot of energy. There was a lot of stress, I guess. Like there's just a lot of stuff going on. I don't need to tell you guys because everyone all obviously went through it together. But I remember making a decision in that moment. And my decision was, I can't wait to look back on this time and be so proud of myself for how I showed up. I want to look, and I do, like I look back on 2020 and I'm like, man, I'm so grateful for the decisions that I made, for the power that I held, for the alignment that I held, for the conversations that I had, for just everything. Like I just feel genuinely very proud of myself for how I showed up in the face of challenge during that year. And it's something that I created in 2020 of like turning life's challenge into perspective and being proud, like walk through that challenge so that your future self will be proud of how you showed up in that moment, if that makes sense. So this is something that I do every time there's a contraction, there's a crunch, there's something going on. I go to my future self and I'm like, I'm so proud of you for how you went through this. You did this, you did this, you did this, you did this, you did this. And I almost create what I'm going to do in advance. And I decide that I'm going to be so proud of how I showed up in integrity, with an open heart, with a clear mind, with just aligned action. I wasn't reactive. I wasn't offensive. I didn't get into any of these like weird patterns. And so turn your life's challenges into opportunities for you to create how you want to show up. And with the context of just being proud, like, wow, I'm so proud of the way you navigated that. That was awesome, right? So whether it's challenges in your business, challenges in your relationships, whatever it is, like how can you approach it from this angle of like, I'm proud of the way you showed up. I'm proud of how you did this. Wow, how incredible. How incredible. All right, the next one. This is one that I do at all of my retreats because it is just, I'm getting like goosebumps. Whew. It's so good. It's so good. This is one of my favorite practices of all time, and it has liberated so much stuck energy in my body and just set me free in so many ways. And here's the practice. Write the apology letter that you will never receive. Write the apology letter that you will never receive. So think back on your life. Think back on the people that have wronged you, hurt you, harmed you, blah, 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 blah. And they're the type of people who don't have the capacity to have a courageous conversation and say, hey, what I did was so wrong, and I acknowledge the impact, and I take ownership, and I am so sorry. If that person doesn't have the capacity to do that, and let's be honest, like not many people do, because we're not taught these things in school. For some reason, finding the X in school was somehow more valuable than the capacity to develop courageous conversations. But that's a podcast for another day. Write the apology letter that you're never going to receive. And maybe there's one letter, maybe there's 25 letters. I don't know. But this practice will free the stuck energy in your body, and it'll let you just remove that connection, that stuckness, that energy, that feeling, and truly set you free. It's a practice of forgiveness as well. And forgiveness is so valuable when it comes to our mental health, our energy management, our physical health. Like when we can release and let go, it's not about making what they did right, but it's about freeing yourself. It's about freeing the energy. Like they might not deserve forgiveness, but like you definitely deserve forgiveness. And so write the apology letter that you're never going to receive. Oh my gosh, this one is so powerful. The last one is future self letters. If you have worked with me, if you've been in the pause programs, if you're a breathwork facilitator, if you're a somatic coach, if you are in my world, I am your mentor. You have absolutely done this. And this is going into the future. Oh, this is one of my favorite ones. Going into the future and writing a letter from your future self to who you are today and explaining everything that you did, everything that you accomplished, how happy you feel, how energized you feel, how grateful you feel, and really going line by line by line and describing the reality that you are currently in that feels so alive, so aligned, so energized, so yummy. And again, call upon the wisdom of your body, call upon the wisdom of your own intelligence, call upon that feeling inside of you that feels so good, so alive, so connected, so just, and really use that, extract that intelligence and use that right now in this moment to inform yourself where you're going, right? Everything in the universe is created twice, once in our mind's eye, in our energy, and then in reality. And so everything that you have in your world right now is a manifestation of your thoughts, your energy, your feelings, right? Beliefs, thoughts, feelings, actions, or results. So when we do this future self letter and we get into the future and we let ourselves today know what's up, what's going on, like all of it, then we begin to really get ourselves oriented to that future self. And if you want to take it one step further and you are someone who really values audio, which I do, I write out my future self letter and then I record it and I listen to it. And when I listen to it, it gets in my brain, it gets in my body, it opens up my heart, it like regulates my nervous system, and I'm wired, engineered, geared to put my energy in that direction. Like we're trending in this direction. So those are my favorite journaling rituals. And again, I use all of those depending on the season, depending on what I'm feeling, like the writing a letter that you're never, writing the apology you're never going to receive. Like that's a very particular type of ritual that you would use when you are feeling that like pain in your body. And then future self is just that like ritualistic, exciting inspiration, manifestation energy. So choose your own adventure based on where you're at, you guys. This episode has been so fun to share with you. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Can't Be Contained podcast. And just a reminder, this podcast is brought to you by Pause Breath Work. If you are listening to this and you desire to become a breathwork facilitator, we have a amazing, like freaking awesome 6-month journey to turn you into a masterful, trauma-informed breathwork facilitator so you can take your spiritual gifts, you can take what you're here to do in the world, and you can pour it into something that makes you feel alive on the deepest level and make impact, make money, do all the good shit. All right, head over to pausebreathwork.com. That's where all the information is there. Have an amazing week, guys, and we'll see you in the next episode. Bye for now.